Hey, get inspired, everyone. Thank you so much for tuning into another episode of Life Inspired. This is a program all about how and why people are following God and how He steps in and does a little number and kind of turns your trajectory to a new turning point, new destination. And so we kind of say life was going along and then God is our dot 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 moment, and then now you're walking inspired. And usually people have several stories. You can watch and share these stories from our YouTube channel, our Facebook page, and from lifeinspiredshow.com. And we really appreciate it if you would like and subscribe. That helps more people hear about the testimonies that God is bringing into the world, and we sure need that now, right? And our guest today is my very dear friend, Jon Backstrom. Hello, Jon Backstrom. Thanks for being our guest again, actually. And not on the red couch this time. You're virtual because of COVID still, right?
Right. Thank you, Diane. Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. We're so glad. I know you've got a new turning point story that you want to share this time that's different from the last one. So I'm looking forward to hearing. Do you have a little backstory you want to set up the turning point you're going to share about?
Well, sure. I just thought I'd talk about my walk with faith, and I know you look at a moment that kind of dot 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 that may have changed things. And with us growing up, I was born into a family of both parents grew up Catholic. In fact, my mom's side of the family, one of her brothers was a priest. My mom went into the convent for a while.
Oh, cool.
Thank God she didn't become a nun.
Really?
And
Or you wouldn't be here.
yeah, right. So then I was baptized Catholic as a baby. Did my first communion. We didn't make it. We kind of left the Catholic Church. Probably I was 11, 12, somewhere in there. My mom made a decision, and we kind of drifted to Assemblies of God or Pentecostal faith over that time. So we went to there was a concert, and I think they were in Minnesota where I grew up. The Lundstroms was a family singers, and they did the altar call. And I remember my mom looking at me, and she pushed me and said, "You should go down there." So I did, so I accepted Jesus there. But, at her urging, right? So
It was mom's idea, not John's idea.
Yeah. So fast forward, I was thinking what I was going to talk about, but life happens, and I had we got married. My first marriage was in a United Methodist church, and not going into details, but we had two wonderful kids. Also, but it didn't last very long. God provided the way for us in the path. So I came to South Bend, and I owe a couple people thanks for that, because if it wasn't for them, I wouldn't be here. I wouldn't have met my second wife that we've been married now 26 years, and
Wow.
had our youngest son together. So life would have been way different. Who knows? So God has a plan and directs your path. So that was awesome. But I was in a business that wasn't conducive to faith. Not that faith was gone. It has always been part of my life. But we transitioned over to insurance industry, worked for Farm Bureau for several years. And my oldest son from my first marriage, he came to live with us. And we started attending a church regularly, Living Stones Church on the south side. And they do once a year, twice a year, they have a baptism. And he said, my son said, "Hey, I'm going to get baptized." And I said, "You know what? I am too." And my reasoning was behind it, my decision, and they call it "I have decided," right? So the reason why I decided to yeah, I need to do that it was my decision. It wasn't when I was a baby and, they baptize you. That wasn't my decision. Um,
Right.
when I went down for the altar call when I was probably 13 years old, with mom pushing you, well, was that my decision or was that a reason to
Right.
appease? I don't know. And then,
Right.
so I decided, yes, I have decided. I got baptized. Jesus, we confirmed that Jesus is Lord and my personal Savior. And that was kind of a big decision
Awesome.
for me saying, okay, this is my decision. And so you talk
Right.
about dot. That's kind of it, Diane.
Right. Right.
And we've been faithful going to the church and our walk has gotten better since then for me and my
Right.
family. So that's kind of where it led to. And that was August of 2009, the baptism celebration we had
Wow.
at the YMCA. I got baptized at the YMCA with my son at the same time. And then
That's so cool.
we celebrated with Martin's Chicken outside afterwards. So that became
That's
tradition
awesome.
of the baptisms is that they celebrated afterwards with fried chicken. So just
I
some
love it. I love it.
of our Living Stones church, so that we have some fun with.
That's awesome. Very cool. So, if you were to say that life is inspired now, like how do you stay inspired? What do you do to stay connected? How do you get your inspiration every day?
Well, I mean, we struggle with this, so God's first, everything. Even though that sometimes that's the hard part. In fact, we just had our men's
Right.
group with your hubby Scott on Friday. We just discussed um, this the other day, and it was like, oh man, I probably failed in keeping the focus on God first. But I think you have to be intentional every day. Thank God for that day. Um, Work to get into scripture, which is very hard for me. I'm not a reader. So I
Right.
struggle. So for me, it's being around other men of faith, other people of faith, and we work to do that
Good.
through our church, through a men's group, and just being surrounded with other business owners like yourself and like TJ Jurgensen, people of faith. Um, I
Right.
think that's important.
Yeah, awesome. I love to hear that. That's awesome. So, I know like we try to um, be intentional about like even just this program. Just this morning, I was praying about Life Inspired Show. Am I doing that? Am I pushing? Because I think this is an important show. I mean, I didn't even come up with the idea. The idea for this program 3.5 years ago came from Ashley Leader, who works with us at Inspired. And we love it. A lot of people have been touched by the stories. But it's a challenge sometimes to find our guests. Who does God want to spotlight? And like I asked my daughter if she wanted to share her story about how and why she follows God. She's like, I'm not really, but she would tell you she is a Christ follower. She considers herself a Christ follower, but she specifically said, I don't really feel like I have a story to tell. I don't have anything to tell. And I'm kind of like, I think that's the story I want to tell. Because so many of us just feel like it's no big deal. You just got through saying you feel like, yeah, it's a challenge. I don't always, I'm not a reader, so I don't really read my Bible very much, and so you don't feel, well, we don't live by feelings. We live by faith and intentionality. And so, yeah, if you want to pursue Christ, then what does that look like? We at Inspired, we do a thing we call saw sharpening, which I get the word from Stephen Covey's 7 Habits. If you're a lumberjack and you have a quota of trees you're supposed to chop down today, and you don't spend time sharpening your saw is dull and you can't chop down the appropriate number of trees. So at Inspired, we talk about Well, saw sharpening is different for every person. Just like your story is as different as your fingerprint is, so is the way you get inspiration every day. You know, for me, it is reading the Bible. I love to dig into my Bible and I love to journal. But somebody else might get inspired by taking a walk in nature and just communing with God, and that's all they do. Our pastor that just passed away from our church loved to go in like a hunter into the woods, but he photographed. He would go into the woods and photograph, and I think he really connected with God when he did that. I mean, it just the photography that he's got out there is just beautiful. So saw sharpening for each one of us has got to be, you know, how God shaped us, right? You know,
Right.
like
Right.
maybe yours is bowling. You know, when you bowl, do you enjoy God's pleasure? He made you a great bowler, so.
Well, yes, I bowl. I'm not a bowler. But
I don't know
hey,
about that.
talking about, the men's groups they talk about, and this is where I fail in that I don't know the scriptures by heart, but I know that they talk about iron sharpens iron. So being with others of similar faith is important. You also mentioned,
Right.
hey, everybody's different. So one of the times, the best thing for me to be with God is to get out and walk early morning. And I do about a 2-mile walk, 40 minutes or so. And
Wow.
of it, I'm in prayer. And that's an important time for me. So that's my time with God. But there's days that I struggle to get up and get out, and I just need to make sure that happens, right? And being
Right.
intentional.
Right.
So it's helping me physically and it's helping me spiritually to go on that walk.
Right.
And when I go on that walk, it's a square, and I pray for the neighborhood, the community.
Awesome.
Pray for the churches. I mean, I walk by the church that I got married in, so I pray there.
Wow.
Pray for them. Pray for Southgate Church. Pray for Living Stones as I walk near that, and then just pray for our leaders, the community, and people's safety. So.
Awesome.
Important time. That's my time, and that's where I feel closest to the Lord. Not so much at bowling.
Yeah. Well, there you go. You got to know yourself and know when it is that you hear from him. So that's awesome. I love it. I love it. And I love prayer walking. That's like the coolest. Scott and I walked around our neighborhood and prayed for our neighbors, and
Yes.
yeah.
Yes.
So very cool. Well, thank you so much for sharing. If somebody wants to have coffee, I know you said last time you were on here that you'd be happy to, whether they want to meet in person or virtual, you'd be happy to meet somebody and talk
Always
about God.
coffee. Our business is located at 101 East Mishawaka, and in the front of the building is a wonderful little coffee shop, the Wholesome Package, and it's coffee's on me anytime you want to stop by. Anybody wants to stop by and chat.
That's awesome. Love it. Thank you so much. We appreciate it. Hey, you guys, thank y'all for watching. We are so grateful that Jon could share his story today. And if you've got someone that could hear that, it's just a daily walk. And if you know somebody that needs to join a men's group, he's in a men's group, if you've got somebody that wants to ask about that, you can message us from the Facebook page. You can message us underneath the story on the YouTube channel, or from the lifeinspiredshow.com. You can message us from there. So yeah, let us know if you want to connect with Jon, or let us know if you know somebody else that needs to tell their story from the virtual red couch during COVID. Thank you guys. Have a great week. Bye-bye.